everyone, it's Adelia Carrillo, and today on DCN Talks, we are sitting down with Jack Scatizzi, the Managing Director of Canopy San Diego. Jack, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Of course. If you could please share with our viewers a little bit about your background and what made you have an introduction to the cannabis industry.
Well, I think like a lot of the people in the cannabis industry, I have kind of an eclectic and meandering background. I actually have a PhD in molecular microbiology from St. Louis University, and I moved out to Southern California about 8 years ago to work in one of the labs at UCSD. After spending about 6-7 years in academic science, I realized it wasn't for me. Wanted to get more on the business end. And I started working with a local investment group called Techos Angels, and I recently just left them where I was the head analyst for the San Diego network. So that's how I got introduced to early stage investing, and through them I saw a couple of cannabis opportunities, including local Solana Beach company Tradive. And then that's where I met Eric and Wyatt Hinshaw, who are, along with Linkfish, are my partners with Canopy San Diego, and they kind of introduced me to the concept of Canopy San Diego, where we would be doing an accelerator specifically for cannabis technology companies. And I said, this is cool, I'm in, let's do it. So.
And if you could please share with our viewers a little bit about Canopy San Diego and what you guys will be providing.
So we are a typical accelerator, and so as a typical accelerator, we provide both seed capital and mentorship and services in exchange for a small equity position in all of our portfolio companies. So specifically, we are looking for technology-based companies in the ancillary product and service company that are targeting at least an initial launch within the cannabis sector. And we're planning on having 10 companies go through our 16-week accelerator program every 6 months, and we're hoping to run for a full 2 years, which will give us a portfolio of approximately 40 companies.
Wow. And what is the process for these companies to apply or to gain your interest?
So we currently have an application up on AngelList, and you can also apply via our website, but it's real quick. I think it's only, you create an AngelList profile, then I think there's like 5 or 6 questions, and we're gonna be collecting applications through the end of August, and we'll actually be reviewing them as they come in, and we'll be contacting some of our favorite companies kind of throughout the application process.
Oh, so that'll be an interesting time to see the variety of startups applying.
Definitely.
For those that are looking to apply, what would you say that you specifically are looking for? I know you did state tech. Is there a specific niche or service that you think should be needed and presented?
Yeah, so specifically to what we're doing with Canopy San Diego, we're not interested in anyone touching the plant. So no cultivation, no dispensaries. We are heavily interested in people that are working on creating new technology solutions for a myriad of problems within the industry. And that can be everything from grow technology or energy and water savings, all the way to boring back office solutions, to social media solutions. We're really kind of problem agnostic, and ideally we would like to identify solutions for problems in industries that are outside of cannabis as well, but that the cannabis market can provide a really nice, clearly defined ground for you to prove your technology works on.
So what would you say are the parallels between the cannabis industry and the technology industry?
So at Techos Angels, we were agnostic into what sectors we invested in. We did some biotech investing, we did healthcare, medical device, healthcare IT, and we also did, very straightforward technology, apps, et cetera. So the interesting thing about the cannabis industry is, their technology needs aren't really all that different than, anywhere else, especially, when you're looking at the entire market. But what I think is unique and interesting is there, especially since it's a highly regulated industry, there's just enough difference that even if you wanted to take an off-the-shelf product from a large Fortune 500 company, you can't actually do it. So I think what we're hoping on and where you're going to see a lot of growth is actually getting people from those large Fortune 500 companies that have developed big enterprise solutions and just get them to start working on similar problems within the cannabis industry. And if you can actually educate them, properly on what are the problems that are facing a dispensary owner, what are the problems that are facing a cultivator, what are the problems that are facing a distributor, what are the differences between California's regulations versus Colorado's regulations, that you can then really start to develop some awesome products that really do solve the current problems. And I think that's one of the issues right now is there's a lot of products out there, but they either weren't designed by the right technology people, or they were designed by the right technology people, but they didn't have any understanding about the industry. And so right now you're getting a lot of people that are complaining that there aren't good technology solutions out there. And so that's what we're hoping to do with Canopy, is we're hoping to pull together about 40 early stage technology companies. We're hoping to train them properly in product market fit, get them in front of dispensary owners, get them in front of cultivators, actually get them talking to the people that are going to be buying and using their products, and then really developing their solution to meet those needs, and not the perceived needs, not the needs of the customer, but the needs of the actual person that will be buying the product.
So you are an investor yourself, and now the table has kind of turned starting Canopy San Diego.
Yeah, so I worked with investors. I wouldn't actually consider myself an investor. But yeah, so now I'm out fundraising for Canopy. I'm on the other side of the table. It's different. It's different in a good way. But, and I definitely have been able to take what I learned working, with Tecos Angels over the past 4 or 5 years and, apply it. But I'm starting to see firsthand some of the frustrations that the entrepreneurs went through that I didn't really get. I didn't really understand until, I essentially started walking a mile in their shoes. And now I'm like, they are right. This is the big pain in the ass. Like, why did I not understand it? Why did we not change this? Why did we keep asking them, to do that?
I think that's a great opportunity, though, for you to fill that. And so with that experience, what kind of tips would you offer to these startups that are getting ready to pitch?
So, I mean, the first thing, and, this is kind of just a life lesson, is you always need to be prepared. And, that starts weeks and months out. You need to be building as many potential relationships with investors as possible, months before you actually ask them for money. And so I think the biggest, mistake I see is a number of entrepreneurs, the first time they meet an investor, whether it be a networking event, whether it be an introduction email from a friend, whatever it be, they immediately start out with, I'm raising money and can you give me money? And it should actually be the opposite. You should spend 2 or 3 months working with them, let them get to know you, let them get to know what you're doing, let them get to know why you're special, why what you're doing is special, and then you ask them. And so that's kind of what we did with Canopy. Canopy San Diego, we decided that we were gonna do this in probably January, February. And all of the partners started having initial conversations with, their core group of investors, friends and family that they knew. And then when we actually started raising money 3 or 4 months ago, or more like 5 or 6 weeks ago, everyone had a soft introduction. It was much easier to get people to come in. We had kind of planted the seed as to what we were doing. We had been following up with them. We had been sending them articles about, legalization happening in the fall, sending articles on, the new projections on growth, for the industry through 2020, stuff like that, which then made it a much easier sell than if we just sat them down cold and said, hey, can you give us your money? We want to do something cool with it. One of the things that surprised me the most is how open people are to what we're doing. The accelerator model for investors has gotten a bit of a bad rap because there's been a lot of accelerators out there and they all haven't quite delivered the value that they said they would, and there aren't enough blue chip companies for every accelerator to get 2 or 3. So I was surprised how many people were open to the accelerator model, but I was even more surprised how many people didn't just run and scream when we said we were focusing on cannabis technology companies. In fact, that's been drawing a lot of people in. A lot of very unexpected people, have called me up, said, "Hey, I hear you're doing something cool. When can I meet with you and Eric? I want to get a sit down. I want to bring my friend in," type of stuff. So.
Conversation. There definitely is conversations happening and
Yeah,
interest.
no, it is.
And I think with Canopy San Diego, you are providing that platform of it's the niche of the cannabis industry, but the companies that you are going to be focusing on.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, and again, as an entrepreneur, you have to figure out what your value proposition is, and then you have to find investors that match that value proposition. And so, our value proposition to investors is this is the essentially dipping your toe in the water way of getting into the cannabis market. We're going after investors that see the huge potential in the cannabis market, but don't know how to get in, or are kind of scared to jump in directly with our company, or are scared to just jump into the market. And what we're saying is essentially, we'll hold your hand through this. By investing in us, you're going to get a piece of 40 different companies, and we're going to be working with these companies. We're going to tell you what the best follow-on investment opportunities are. But again, we're not investing in anyone who's touching the plant, and we're finding that resonates with a lot of our investors because they're not ready to invest in a dispensary. They're not ready to invest in a cultivator. That's not to say in 2 to 3 years they won't be ready to, but at least at this point they're looking for what they're considering, the safest investment vehicle, something that will provide them with a good return, and something that will educate them on the market so that in the next 1.5 to 3 years, they can start making their own investments in different types of, vehicles within the industry.
And again, for those that want to learn more about Canopy San Diego, you can click the link below and you'll be able to get in touch with Jack if you have any specific questions, or you can apply for the first class of Canopy San Diego. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Adelia with Direct Cannabis Network. Remember, let's think higher.